What's up, Browns fans? Nathan Zegura here with the offensive line position review edition of the 2-Minute Drill, brought to you by University Hospitals. The best news is the Browns have one of the best offensive lines in the NFL, and all 5 starters that are penciled in right now certainly are under contract for the 2022 season. The reason I say penciled in is because Jack Conklin will be rehabbing from that torn patella tendon that he suffered in Week 12 against the Baltimore Ravens a year ago. So we don't yet know his status, but if he's good to go, the Browns will have all 5 starters back from 2021, rolling that right in to 2022. And here's what that line looks like, starting at left tackle with Jedrick Wills, the Browns' first-round pick in 2020. Had a little bit of a sophomore slump due to injury. He hurt his ankle Week 1 against the Kansas City Chiefs and really was never able to get healthy throughout the duration of the season. The injury would cause him to miss 4 games over the course of the year and never be 100%. But what Wills showed was grit, a determination, and a toughness that will serve him well. The Browns expecting a bounce-back season in year number 3 from their left tackle. Next to Wills at left guard, you've got Joel Bitonio, named first-team All-Pro for the first time in his career in 2021. He has now been an All-Pro first-team or second-team in 4 straight seasons. He also has made 4 straight Pro Bowls. Joel Bitonio, quite frankly, folks, as good as it gets at the guard position. He was Pro Football Focus' #1 graded guard for the 2021 season, and he even started 2 games at left tackle this year, graded in the 90s in both of them. Joel Bitonio is an elite special player, and that's the reason the Browns locked him up with a contract extension that will keep him with the team through the 2025 season. Next to Bitonio at center is J.C. Tretter, just an unheralded, reliable stud. Tretter will be entering the final year of his contract here in 2022, but has been one of the top 2 pass-blocking graded centers in each of the last 2 seasons at Pro Football Focus. He had to miss the first game of his entire Browns career this year due to COVID against the Packers, but let me tell you something, the guy is tough. He plays through injuries. He is reliable. He is also the president of the NFLPA. Next to him at right guard, it is Wyatt Teller. Teller went to his first Pro Bowl in 2021, and he's been a second-team All-Pro right guard in 2 consecutive seasons. Like Bitonio, Teller signed a big extension that will keep him with the Browns through the 2025 season, and once again was a top 5 graded guard at Pro Football Focus 1 year after being the #1 overall graded offensive lineman in the league, according to PFF. That gets us back to right tackle. And here's where the question mark is for the Browns offensive line headed into 2022. When will Jack Conklin be back? Now, Conklin had an injury-shortened season this year, 1 year after being the first-team All-Pro right tackle in his first season with the Browns in 2020. This year, his season limited him to only 7 games due to those injuries, and he was lost for the year after suffering a torn patella tendon in his knee Week 12 at Baltimore. So those are your starters, and Conklin, like Tretter, also entering the final year of his contract here with the Browns. So those are your starters. Let's take a look now at some of the key backups and the key reserves, and we'll start with the center, Nick Harris. Harris was the Browns' 5th-round pick in the 2020 draft. He started this year in Week 16 at Green Bay for J.C. Tretter and played very well, giving the Browns a lot of hope that he can become the guy to take over at center whenever that time may be. In that game, he did not allow a single pressure on 42 pass-blocking opportunities, and so Harris's development certainly a bright spot for the Browns. In addition to Harris, the Browns have James Hudson, the swing tackle who was their 4th-round pick this year out of the University of Cincinnati. And Hudson started 4 games for the Browns at right tackle and made some appearances at left tackle as well, appearing in 6 games total. He'd have the typical rookie ups and downs, but the good news, Browns fans, is that his best game of the year was his last in Week 18 in that win over Cincinnati, earned a Pro Football Focus grade of over 90 in that game, and did not allow a single pressure for the first time all year. He could very well be the Browns' top backup tackle headed into 2022. And that's because Chris Hubbard, the veteran who started 48 games in the league, spending a lot of times as a starter for the Browns, missed all of 2021 with a triceps injury, and that's after he came off of a big ACL injury in 2020. He enters this offseason as an unrestricted free agent, and hopefully the Browns and Hubbard can figure something out if he still has the zest to play and brings great veteran stability. It was Hubbard who stepped in when Conklin missed some games a year ago in 2020 and kept this offensive line moving. And so we'll see what happens with Hubbard as we enter into this offseason. Your other key backups, well, Blake Hance. Remember him, a guy named Blake who showed up on the scene late in the playoff run of 2020? Well, this year, somebody who worked only at guard and center in the preseason started a lot of games at tackle for the Cleveland Browns. In fact, Hance appeared in 14 games, making 7 starts at both left tackle and right tackle. And for a guy playing out of position, I thought he did a great job for the Browns. Probably the highlight of his season was the start against the Los Angeles Chargers back in Week 5. In that game, he did not allow a single pressure, and he was going one-on-one with Joey Bosa. The Browns produced over 500 yards of offense and over 40 points in that one. Blake did a great job, and certainly somebody who has value across the entire offensive line because, as I said, he's a guard and a guy who got some work at center, ended up playing tackle for the Browns this year, getting that valuable experience. And then there's also Michael Dunn. Dunn is an exclusive rights free agent, just like Blake Hance. He was the hero of the playoff wildcard win in 2020 when he started for Joel Bitonio and played flawlessly against Cam Hayward and the Steelers. This year, he appeared in 4 games for the Browns, making 2 starts at guard against Las Vegas and Green Bay. He played very solidly and is a good interior swingman. So that's kind of the core group likely to come back. Again, Hubbard, the unrestricted free agent in the area of exclusive rights free agents in both Dunn and Hance. So if the Browns want them back, they will be back. And then there are other names in the mix that are on the roster right now, just to know as you get ready for training camp 2022. You got Drew Forbes, the guard who was a 6th-round pick by the Browns in 2019 from Southeast Missouri State. He opted out in 2020 due to COVID. He missed the entire 2021 season with a knee injury and will look to kind of make his mark and make the Browns roster in 2022. Yelda Froholt, a former 4th-round pick of the New England Patriots in 2019 out of Arkansas, spent time on the Browns roster and the practice squad in 2021. He's been signed to a reserve futures contract. There's also tackle Alex Taylor, who spent 2020 and 2021 on the Browns practice squad. He was on the active roster this year, but did not appear in a game. The big tackle, standing 6'8", is signed to a reserve futures contract, as is tackle Elijah Nakansa. He's an undrafted free agent out of Toledo who's been in the league since 2018, bouncing around with Tennessee, Seattle, Houston, Indy, the Jets, and the Browns. He has appeared in 1 career game and is also signed to a reserve futures deal, as is guard David Moore, an undrafted free agent out of Grambling State who spent time on the Browns practice squad in 2021. So that's a look at the Browns' state of the offensive line here as we get ready for the 2022 season. Now, a couple things. 1, this is one of the best units in the NFL. 2, it's going to get the best coaching in the league, as Bill Callahan is regarded as the best offensive line coach in the NFL and one of the best to ever do it. And Scott Peters, the assistant, has done a great job as well. All 5 starters expected back, all 5 starters under contract through 2022. The question mark, of course, being Conklin's health, but we'll get updates on that throughout the offseason. So you've got one of the best groups all coming back, and it should remain a strength of this football team for the foreseeable future. Thanks for joining us for the offensive line position review here on the 2-Minute Drill, brought to you by University Hospitals.